How did court cases shape overtime rules? Imagine working long hours and wondering if you should be paid extra for those extra hours. Court cases have played a big role in shaping the overtime rules you see today. They have helped clarify what counts as work time and who qualifies for overtime pay under the law. The story begins with the Fair Labor Standards Act, passed in 1938, which set the basic rule that employees should get 1.5 times their regular pay for hours worked beyond 40 in a week. But figuring out what counts as work time was not always clear. In the 1940 for Supreme Court case Skidmore v. Swift and Company, the court decided that waiting time could be considered work time. This meant employees had to be paid for time they spent waiting, not just actively working. This case helped define what hours employers need to pay for. Over time, courts also looked at who should get overtime and who might be exempt. The Fair Labor Standards Act lists categories of workers who are not entitled to overtime, like managers, supervisors, or professionals. Courts have clarified how employers should prove someone falls into these exempt categories. For example, in a 2025 Supreme Court decision, the court lowered the burden of proof for employers. Now, employers only need to show it is more likely than not that an employee qualifies for an exemption, instead of proving it beyond a reasonable doubt. This change made it easier for employers to classify workers as exempt from overtime. Courts have also influenced how the Department of Labor can set rules for overtime. In cases like Mayfield versus the Department of Labor, courts upheld the agency's authority to set salary thresholds for exemptions. This means the government can decide that employees earning below a certain salary must be paid overtime, while those earning above can be exempt. Courts have generally supported the Department of Labor's role in making these rules. Looking back, during the Lochner Era from the late 1800s to the 1930s, courts sometimes struck down labor laws, claiming they violated economic freedoms. But after the 1937 case West Coast Hotel versus Parrish, courts accepted that the government could regulate wages and hours. This decision confirmed that protecting workers' rights to fair pay and overtime was within the government's power. All these court decisions have practical effects today. Employers need to carefully classify workers as exempt or non-exempt and keep good records to support their decisions. Employees benefit from clearer rules about what work counts and when they should be paid extra. Overall, court cases have helped shape overtime rules by interpreting the law, balancing the needs of workers and employers, and confirming the authority of government agencies. These rulings ensure overtime rules stay fair and relevant as work environments change.